The career of the Airbus A380 starts in the early 1990s and ends in 2021 when Airbus stops making A380s. Yes, it's sad that the famous and huge A380 will soon be a thing of the past because of newer, cheaper technology, unless Airbus is able to bring out a business A380 with no emissions in 2035. In the meantime, it looks like companies are starting to take some of their A380s apart. A Twitter user named Speedbird020 recently posted photos of a Qantas A380 that had been taken apart for spare parts. The spare parts that were taken off of VHOQF will be kept at Qantas A380 sites in Los Angeles and Sydney. The VHOQF was named after Sir Charles Kingsford Smith, who also gave his name to Sydney Airport. It was Qantas' sixth A380. Since 2020, VHOQF has been in Victorville, which is known around the world as an aeroplane boneyard. VHOQF is the first Qantas A380 to be thrown away, but it won't be the last. In August 2020, Qantas said that after COVID-19 grounded all 12 A380s in June 2020, only 10 would be put back into passenger service and 2 would be taken out of service. It's the first time a Qantas A380 has ever been taken apart. VHOQF was the first one to be taken out of service, and Australian Aviation says that VHOQE will be the second A380 that Qantas will throw away. When Qantas bought the VHOQE in 2009, it was the fifth A380 the company had. It was named Lawrence Hargrave after a famous Australian expert. VHOQE has also been at the Victorville Boneyard since it was taken there in 2020. Qantas only has 2 A380s that are active right now, and it's not known whether the other 8, excluding VHOQF and VHOQE, will start taking passengers again, so they don't end up like VHOQF hopefully soon. Qantas first-class service is back. Even better, it's been given a makeover, or more accurately, a light moisturizer. The Reginald Ansett VHOQH, a fourth Qantas A380, came out of storage in the Californian desert for the first time since March 2020. The first section has been refreshed, according to Qantas. When the A380s were in the desert, Qantas used the time to add more first-class seats and make changes to the rooms. Qantas changed the layout for the business class cabin on the A380. They added 70 updated business suites, made the premium economy area bigger, now with 60 seats instead of 35, and updated the economy and first class cabins. Qantas says that the upper deck area has also been redone from top to bottom. It now has booths for 10 people, a self-service bar, and the ability to order special drinks and food. First Lounge customers who are eligible will once again be able to choose from a menu of a la carte dishes chosen by Neil Perry, champagnes and fine Australian wines, as well as a selection of seasonal cocktails. The Qantas Spa will also be open again. At the spa, you can get services like hot stone massages and microfacials before you go on a trip. Stephanie Tully, Qantas Chief Customer Officer, says that the return of Qantas premium items is a good sign that international travel is getting better. We know that our customers have missed the Qantas A380 travel experience just as much as our team has missed being able to give it to them. It's great that we're back in the air with our premium full service on these newly refurbished aircraft. Qantas will also reopen its first check-in room at Sydney International for its first-class customers and top-tier frequent flyers. The Qantas A380 already flies from Sydney to Los Angeles, and starting in June, it will also fly from Sydney to London via Singapore. Analysts and shareholders also think it will be hard for Qantas to buy hundreds of more planes without cutting payouts to shareholders if earnings don't stay much higher than they were before the pandemic. The airline's new CEO, Vanessa Hudson, said that she would not have to cut share repurchases or dividends to finish the big capital expenditure program, which is expected to cost between $12 billion and $15 billion over the next 5 years. But some people inside the company are worried that Ms. Hudson hasn't said how the capital investment will be paid for. This has led many people in the market to think that debt levels may need to rise to pay both shareholder returns and the cost of buying 299 new planes to replace the old fleet. A Qantas employee refused to say anything. Angus Gluski, the managing director of Qantas Investor White Funds Management, said the company had a difficult juggling act to do with its debt and liquidity, but that Qantas was reasonably positioned to reward investors and spend. Any big program like that spends a lot of money on capital adds future risk. As they work on this program, they risk overcommitting themselves and losing the ability to react if the market goes down, Mr. Gluski said. But the fund manager said that this was a normal business risk and that there was no reason why they shouldn't spend in new planes, which would improve Qantas products and customer satisfaction. In the fiscal year 2023, Qantas is expected to make $2.6 billion before interest and taxes. In the fiscal year 2026, that number is expected to rise to $2.9 billion. From 2015 to 2019, an average of $1.6 billion was spent each year. Morningstar analyst Angus Hewitt said that the airline would spend more than $15 billion on new planes over the next 5 years. This is more than UBS's prediction of $12.3 billion and Jarden's prediction of $10.1 billion to fiscal year 2026. Earnings are unlikely to cover this, as well as dividends or share buybacks. Mr. Hewitt said, "I don't think Qantas will make net profits anywhere near that level needed to fully fund capital expenditures and dividends." He also said that profits were just a piece of the puzzle, along with liquidity and debt. Still, Mr. Hewitt said that they could pay owners and buy planes at the same time. "I'm sure they can do both," he said with confidence. "I think they can do that right now with Qantas' debt headroom and earnings potential, but it's more to note that the capital expenditures are not small." As of December 30th, the airline had a net debt of $2.4 billion. This was much less than the range of $3.9 billion to $4.8 billion that was expected in its COVID-19 recovery plan. Qantas is more likely to buy back its own stock than to pay payments. Mr. Hewitt said that the airline would choose buybacks over rewards in the near future. He said that Qantas only had a small amount of franking credits left and had billions of dollars in losses to work through before it would have to pay taxes again. Citi analyst Samuel Xiao is more optimistic about Qantas' ability to handle fleet orders and pay for share buybacks or dividends. The cost of renewing the contract is high, but Qantas can change the order to match its earnings, Mr. Xiao said. In particular, the airline can change how many planes it gets each year and spread out the renewal process over a longer period of time. Also, most of the money doesn't have to be paid until the plane is delivered, and the terms were agreed upon before narrow-body prices went up. In the middle of last year, the company said that as part of Project Winton, it would buy more than 100 new Airbus A320neo and A220 planes. The company plans to get 299 new planes over the next 10 years. For the next 3 years, one will arrive every 3 weeks. UBS says that the average age of Qantas fleet has gone up from 7.7 years in 2014 to 13.6 years in 2022, while the average age of aeroplanes around the world is between 12.4 and 13 years. Ms. Hudson said that the new planes would cause a step change in Qantas earnings, which would help the company pay for capital investments and returns. She told the Australian Financial Review, "Not only can we pay for the upcoming capital expenditures, but we can also continue to reward our shareholders throughout the cycle." Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more.